Hey, all right again. So, what are we talking about today? Let's talk about expectations. Expectations around what exactly? Let's talk about what you can expect from Scrumban or Scrumban. And you and your team, y'all might have been at this for a little bit. You may not be operating at full throttle, but you're starting to get a groove, right? It's starting to make sense. And it shouldn't be too long after you try something that you start getting a sense of whether or not something is going to work for you, and areas where you might need a little bit more experimentation or clarity. So let's talk about what you can expect from Scrumban. Usually you can identify some of these things within the first week or two of giving it a try. Starting off with visualization of workload and better workflow management. You've got your Scrumban board, right? You've got your swim lanes, you've got your columns that are, where the flow is being managed, and you've got that visualization. Next, you'll have clarity around capacity, because we're doing what? We're doing capacity planning. Even if you didn't do capacity planning, you still have a better idea on whether or not you're doing enough, if you're overcommitting or undercommitting within any of your time boxes. But you'll have more clarity around your capacity as a team, and then even individually. Now, there are too many metrics to enumerate, but I am going to give you a healthy list of some metrics that you should start seeing or being able to get to gather, because you have the data. Velocity, throughput, MTTR, change failure rate, cycle time, lead time, burn down and burn up, which a lot of us do not speak about enough, in my opinion, and availability of your products and everything. Now, once you have these metrics, you have trend data, and trend data will allow you to improve your planning accuracy. It'll enable identification of peak periods too. So your data with the trend information and the peak period starts to tell what? It starts to tell a story. And what do we do when we have all of that along with the story? We have an ability to make better informed, data-driven decisions. Again, we have an ability to make better informed, data-driven decisions. Next, we've got WIP limit management. Assuming we're holding each other accountable to those WIP limits, right? And it's okay if you want to go ahead changing your WIP limits every day. Sometimes that's necessary for your team. And even if it might not be necessary for every iteration or sprint, but it might be necessary depending on the cyclical time frame within the year, right? And that's okay to do. Less defects and better quality. That's another thing that you can expect as you're going through Scrumban. And dare I say, opportunities to dream, y'all. You can start dreaming about your vision, the strategy around your products, because you find yourself being more calm and more relaxed, because you gave yourself the gift of focus. You're not trying to do everything all the time. You have a set plan. You have your visualized workflow, and now the intangible things are starting to come into play where you can think more clearly. You don't have all these distractions coming all over, right? There's only so much mental real estate I personally can give to things. And so when I am able to focus like that, I can dream. I can start setting some things in motion that I'm like, ooh, that's a really good idea, right? So that's what you'll find yourself starting to do in relation to your product areas and even your processes that you and your team use. So think about automation, Are there opportunities where you can get more automation entered into your sprint plans? Can you analyze your data to understand what your code coverage is with your testing? Are there any test gaps that you've been wanting to close, but nobody's had it within the plan because y'all have been working on all these other things that we thought needed to be worked on, but we've realized it's not the most valuable work at that time. And finally, tech debt. Take a look at your tech debt. Do some refactoring. What can you do from a CI/CD perspective too to bring about efficiencies within your team? And last, y'all, have fun. Y'all should realize now, by the time y'all start doing all of this work, you should be having some fun working with the people that you're working with and y'all figuring this stuff out for yourselves, because this really is not just about professional enablement. This is really personal. This really does become personal, and is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about agile and what it can do for teams, because I've seen it save marriages, I've seen it build relationships, I've seen it increase the competency of our associates and employees that might be newer in the organization or areas where we may want to improve. It's allowed people to have a chance and get the grace offered back to them to experiment and try without judgment of or fear of failure. Fear of failure. Sorry about that. Now, before I end, I do want to mention a few things. Don't lose the goodness of the basics when it comes to agile. What do I mean by that? In order for you to realize these benefits we talked about in one of those earlier videos and the expectations that we're mentioning here, don't lose the goodness of things like the 3 C's. You want to have your card, your conversation, and your commitment. Commitment amongst the team, that we all understand what this thing is all about. Acceptance criteria, definition of done. Commitment from your stakeholder, your end user, your clients, just as well. The invest criteria or guidelines being followed, and figuring out a better way to break down your user stories from features, themes, sub-initiatives, initiatives, whatever it is that you call it within your particular organization. And no one can tell you what healthy looks like when it comes down to breaking down that work, right? Healthy is whatever level of granularity is needed for you and your team that allows you to be efficient, successful with quality, okay? Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.